Hello and welcome back to the show. I am a co-host, Samantha Farlow with the Garrison's Public Affairs Office.
And I am another co-host, Sergeant Lamont Shavers from the 69th Air Defense Artillery Brigade.
And I'm another co-host, Specialist Kyra Pearl from the 11th Corps Signal Brigade.
And this is Fort Hood's Great Big Podcast.
The month of August is designated Anti-Terrorism Awareness Month, and the folks at the Fort Hood Force Protection Office are offering a wide variety of classes throughout the month, both in person and online. On Tuesdays this month, they're offering classes at House Auditorium and through Teams, including the mandatory Anti-Terrorism Level 1 training session.
That's right. I'm Master Sergeant Akinola Oladipo, Anti-Terrorism Specialist for U.S. Army Garrison Fort Hood. To find out more about our classes offered during Anti-Terrorism Awareness Month, call the Force Protection Office at 254-288-6466. That's 254-288-6466. And remember, Force Protection starts with you. If you see something, say something.
Welcome back from the break. We are here today to discuss all things Fort Hood museums. We have with us today Mr. Stephen Draper, who is the director of the Fort Hood Museums. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, ma'am.
Of course. So let's just get right into it. Let's talk all things museums. When did they start here? You know, the history of the museums that we do have here, and what are they?
The first museum that was here was actually the 1st Armor Division Museum, and that was back in the 70s.
Wow.
And then actually back in the 60s. And then when the 1st CAD Division came here in 1971, they took over the building that the 1st Armor had and part of the collection. And that became, so the first CAD Museum started in 1971 up until October this year.
Wow, that's very interesting.
That's so cool. How many museums do we have?
In the Army, we have, well, it's kind of hard because we've gone through the process of consolidating museums.
Okay.
We don't have, the budget is not going to get bigger for museums. And so we've gone through the process of museums that are in multiple museums in a particular post or something like that. They consolidating those, consolidating the staff. So right now, I think we're still talking about 50.
Okay, and how many do we have here specifically?
We have 2.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going from 2 to 1,
2
correct?
to 1, yep. Yes.
That's very exciting. So will you tell us all about the new museum and what it's going to look like and when it's supposed to open?
And where it is.
Yes. All the details.
Sure. Again, the new museum will be called the National Mounted Warrior Museum, and it will encompass the stories of the 1st Cavalry Division, the 3rd Cavalry Regiment, Fort Hood,
Okay.
with a little smattering of armor as well. And so they will be telling those particular stories in that conflict. So phase 1 of the exhibit plan of the building, which is being funded by the National Mounted Warfare Foundation, is phase 1 will be completed in November of this year.
Okay.
And so the building will be done, and another few months in between that, give or take, there'll be a process in which we, the things are tested and make sure we get all the bugs out of the building, and then we'll start occupying the building, probably February maybe.
Okay.
And then we'll be working at that time, as we are right now, we're working on the exhibits for that. We have a contractor. In fact, he's been in today. His name is Stephen Feltman, and he's from Bethesda, Maryland. and he's being paid by the U.S. Army to come in and design the exhibits in the existing in the building we have.
Very cool.
And so that's what he's working on right now. In fact, I just left him. He's over at the new site, taking pictures and things of that sort. So that process of the exhibit design is going to take about 11 months.
Okay.
And so and then once that is over with, then we will go back out and contract for the construction. We get a better bang for our buck if we split those. And so we're talking the grand opening of the new museum in about the September timeframe of 2023. Now that sounds like a long time away.
It does. Wow.
but it is not. We're halfway, 3/4 of the way through 21 now.
Right. It sneaks up on you.
And so that's not a hard thing, but everything is going to gel together. Now, we are talking about doing, and we haven't decided a date on that yet, what we call a soft opening.
Right.
And so sometime next summer, we'll open the building up for visitors to come in. And at that time, we'll have displays that will talk about what you're going to see in the new museum when the exhibits are completed.
Gotcha.
We're also going to do some traveling exhibits, bringing in from other museums and stuff like that. Will come in and do some of those kinds of things. We're looking at the Smithsonian, looking at some other, MAMUSA, the National Army Museum, bringing in some displays and some exhibits for the Changing Gallery, and then you'll get to then the public will get kind of a bird's eye view of how we go through the process of doing the construction and installation of the exhibits. So that's just one part.
Okay.
The other part is that we have to, the two buildings that we have, the current 1st Cavalry Division Museum and the current 3rd Cav Museum will be closed down. In fact, we'll be closing September 30th of this year.
That's so soon.
It's very soon. And then we'll start the process of demolition of the existing exhibits, pulling the artifacts out, because a lot of them are going to be used in the new building. So they got to get a little rest.
Right.
We got to do some conservation work, and we get that. And also too is that, and then we've got to clear out those galleries because we got to move our storage, which is the museum artifact storage. We got to move that into our current galleries so that we can start moving over to the 3rd Cavalry Museum. So the 3rd Cavalry Museum will become the storage facility for the new museum.
Oh,
so
okay.
the three collections, the 1st Cav collection, the 3rd Cav collection, and the Fort Hood collection will all be stored in one location. And so that'll be part of that. So all the different things that we don't use in the museum, those will go into those areas. Now that doesn't mean they never get used. We rotate stuff, as well as we're going to do a lot of changing exhibits, that we're going to produce in house down the road, and so we need to maintain a collection for that, as well as our archival collection.
So, in your opinion, why do you think it's so important for us to preserve our history in museums like the one we're making? Well,
we're part of a process of educating soldiers. That's our number one mission, is training soldiers. So as a soldier, when a young recruit enters into basic training, he or she gets a certain amount of training on Army history. And so then when they leave basic training, they go to their advanced school, or IT, whatever you used to call it, and they get their MOS training. So this is what armor people do. This is what the armor did. This is what the infantry did. This is what aviation did. This is what engineers do. So they learn the history of those. And so we're the third stool, or third leg in the stool of education, if you will. What we do is we're continuing education. So our responsibility is to train soldiers about their history and their esprit de corps, at the local level, as well as providing the community with history of the General Army, itself. Our boss, Mr. Bowery, who is the director of Army Museums, calls us we're kind of the franchise of the National Army Museum. And so we're going to be doing things in addition to the the three big stories that we're going to tell. We're going to do some other things to try to tell Army history, so brings those soldiers and the public. Now, it's important for soldiers to understand where they came from, because if you don't understand where you've came from, you have no idea where to go forward.
Right.
And so you've got to learn from example. And that's exactly what history is about, is learning from example. So those guys who are at Valley Forge, or those guys who are at Khe Sanh, or those guys at Fallujah, what they went through, you need to know about, because you can reuse their information. You can use their experiences. You can to do the things that you have to do. And that's the important part of history. You've got to know where you've been to know where you're going.
I agree. I agree 100%. And I'm actually glad that you spoke on rotating exhibits, because I know a lot of people that are avid museum goers like myself, because I can't get enough of history. I'm somewhat addicted to it. But for those of you that don't go to museums a lot, you might go once in a blue moon, but you might not remember what was there. But if you go often, or you take your soldiers there once every now and then, you'll actually notice that some things stay there all of the time. That's kind of what the museum's about. But then a lot of other things rotate, and they get rotated for a multitude of reasons. Can you kind of talk about why things get rotated?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that you have to do. Sometimes we'll rotate artifacts within an existing exhibit because we have to give them time to rest. Now that sounds weird, but putting artifacts out in light and exposure to temperature changes and stuff like that, that does an undue harm to that particular artifact. And so we have to do things like rest. So in the permanent exhibit galleries, we have two of some things, like in our Civil War exhibit, we're going to talk about the Civil War a little bit. We've got two Army cavalry shell jackets, so we can rest one and have the other one on the gallery. So those things, they look the same, so we can tell that. Now, rotating gallery, we have that's the other nice thing that we don't have in the current two museums, is we don't have a changing exhibit gallery, and we're going to have a 2,000 square foot changing exhibit gallery that we can put anything we want to in there. And so the idea is that we're going to have special exhibitions, throughout the year. Once we get fully operational, that'll go throughout the year. That'll highlight aspects of the Fort Hood experience, but also the aspects of the Army experience. And also we are even talking about the communities. What's the relationship between the post and the communities? What makes this community better, or, different from the other communities? So we're going to try to be more of a community-related, as when we talk about those, make that a vehicle that we can do. Additionally, and this is, coming down the pike, is that the foundation also is fundraising for, right now, at least 2 classrooms. So we will actually be able to do educational programming in those classrooms, and also make those classrooms available so units can use them for training and sergeant's time and anything of that sort, in meetings and things of that sort, that kind of stuff. That was one of the prerequisites that the Corps commander required of us to do.
That's so
and
cool.
So we'll have that stuff going on.
Yeah. I was going to say, it sounds amazing. Where is this going to be again? I'm sorry, I'm starting to get excited about it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm excited. So we are right next door, or right in between the Horse Detachment and the Visitor Center. So the idea is being outside the gate. The general public doesn't have to go through the hassle of going through the gate. And it isn't that terribly difficult for soldiers and their families and Army civilians to go through there. So it makes it a lot easier. So that's the location. So if you've been driving down, the highway 190 or 14, whatever you want to call it, and you've been seeing that construction there on the horizon, that's the new museum. As I said, we're what they're doing now in the building right now is closing it in. And again, you can see it's a pretty dramatic building. I didn't say that right, but anyway, you can see it, and the idea was that the building would face Corps headquarters. So, so when you go out the door, the first thing you see is 3 Corps headquarters.
Yeah.
Inside the galleries, inside the exhibit, for example, you come into the rotunda, there will be a display or displays that will have we've got a World War I French-American tank that'll go in there. We'll have a mannequin, or a very super accurate mannequin of a soldier from either the 9th or 10th Cavalry Regiment. And then we'll have another soldier in modern gear, and he'll be launching in his hand a UV, or we call it the Raven. I think it's what we're going to use. And he'll be launching. So you're going to see that transition. And then above it is going to be an OH-6 helicopter hanging from the ceiling.
Wow.
So you're going to see all the aspects of mounted warfare right there in that stuff with the beginnings of armor, as well as the horse, which was a major part of that, and then what mounted warfare looks like for the future.
That's so cool. I'm really glad that you mentioned families, because all I can imagine while we're talking is like taking my son there. I'm a mother, but like just the community. I feel like this is going to be such a great opportunity for people to learn about our history. Well,
and let me tell you, it's not just exhibits. So we're part of the new program, and we're going to have a full-time educator.
Right.
That's going to be coming on board. We haven't hired that person yet, but we're going to be able to develop educational programming and different special events with the support of the Museum Foundation that will provide additional programming to different types of programs. One of the things we've got some things that we're getting from the National Army Museum, kind of plug and play kind of educational programming. One of them that we're working on right now it's called Faith Equipment, and this is Faith Equipment, and this is an educational program that talks about a particular piece of equipment and where that came from, and why does that piece of equipment look this way, and what the evolution of that piece of equipment, and we can talk anything from a helmet, to rations.
Right.
So you ended up with, a piece of bread in a bag to the MRE.
Yeah.
And so those are kinds of things that other folks in the Army Museum Enterprise, that's what we call ourselves now, they are developing for us, and we just can steal their stuff and do that.
Why recreate the wheel?
That's right. And then we're also going to develop programming for the public as well as for soldiers that will talk about life here at Fort Hood. Not everything was always hunky-dory here. And so we're going to talk about hunky-dory. There's a
phrase you haven't heard in a while.
Shows you my age. But we're going to talk about some stuff and talk about a little bit of some of those issues that, what was it like to be here in Vietnam during the Vietnam War? And what was it like to be an African-American in the 761st Tank Battalion, arriving at the gate here, and realizing that he's coming into a hostile situation.
Yeah,
because there weren't any African Americans in this area, and so and there was a lot of racial animosity, and we have luckily and happily have grown out of that to here with the post, but back in the day. And there was a lot of anger, not just towards them, but a lot of anger in the area when the post came here, because we lost about 12 little towns and cemeteries and stuff like that. They were all absorbed to make up, Camp Hood.
Right.
And so those kind of stories we want to talk about a little bit about that as well, and as well as developing programs for kids, that they can do things that. That make their experience at the museum more than just looking at it as artifacts.
So what part about your job do you get the absolute most excited about?
Thought he just said that.
What have we been talking about for the last 10 minutes?
Have you not been listening to me?
everything excites me. I have my background is collections and educational programming. I learned to be a director. And so when I was a little museum guy in Michigan, I worked in the education office for the Michigan Historical Museum. And so that's where my interest is. My background is in educational program, but I also like the toys. It's not a real good museum term, but that's what we call them. Is the artifacts and how they've developed, and that whole, again, that evolutionary process.
Yeah.
From a flintlock musket to the M16 or the M4.
Yeah.
And so that's that whole story. There's a cause and effect for everything. And everything flows from one thing. Necessity, or what's that old phrase about necessity is the mother of invention.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole aspect of that. But then the other most important part is that human story.
Yeah.
Is that,
absolutely.
Okay, we sent this guy here, we sent this gal here. What's her story? What's she or he thinking about as they're experiencing it? The Army is a strange place. It's not, and it is stranger to people today than it was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
40 years ago, people kind of understood what the military is all about. Today, we have less than 1% of the population serves the United States military.
Wow.
Yep.
And so it's more important than ever that we explain to the public, the taxpayers, what your military does. And it's not just, shoot them up. It's
right.
all the other wonderful things that we do to support the United States of America.
Cool.
Well, that was really incredible. I have one final question. What is your favorite artifact that is going to be displayed in the new museum?
Ooh.
Oh,
Choose just one.
A
Wow.
hard
Yeah.
one, huh?
oh God.
It's okay if you don't have an answer.
I don't know if I have one particular one that I have. I was just trying to think.
There's just so many to choose from.
Well, and again, it's we have a lot of interesting stuff. One that kind of makes me think about is that we have the Medal of Honor that was awarded to Reuben Tabor. He was a member of the member of the 3rd Battalion of the 8th Cavalry Regiment, and he was a Hungarian Jew. His family ended up in a concentration camp in World War II.
Wow.
He lived in a concentration camp. He was liberated by American military, immigrated to the United States, joined the United States Army, and was part of the 8th Cavalry Regiment in Korea.
Wow.
And if you know your Korean War history, we moved all the way up to the border with China. It defeated the North Koreans, and then China intervened in the war. And we fought a series of retreats all the way back, and the 3rd Battalion got overrun. And they had to they called for Broken Arrow, and then basically the battalion commander said, "Look, you got to go. If you can get away, you can get away." Well, Reuben and Father Capone, who was the unit chaplain, stayed with the wounded.
Wow.
And they were captured. Yeah, don't get me crying now. stayed with the wounded, and they were captured by the North Koreans and the Chinese, and they were placed into a POW camp. Well, they treated Father Capone horribly because he was a Roman Catholic priest, and so eventually he dies of starvation in the camp. Wow. Reuben, on the other hand, because of his experiences in a concentration camp in Nazi Germany, he was able to sneak out of the camp every night and steal food from the North Koreans and the Chinese and bring them back to help feed the prisoners and help them keep up. So his Medal of Honor experience is not for a particular moment in history,
right,
but a period of time, which is unusual for the Medal of Honor.
Absolutely.
So I think that story, that artifact itself, and the family was so gracious to donate their dad's Medal of Honor to us, that I think that's probably one of my favorites.
That's incredible. Wow.
Oh, my heart.
Yeah.
Incredible. Well, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast with us. I know I learned a lot, and I am looking forward to 2023 already.
Yeah. Well, don't think about that. We think of 2023 and go, oh God, it's such a long, it's not.
It flies by.
It flies by. I mean, we talked about before we got on here, we talked a little bit about how long I've been here at Fort Hood, and I've been here for 30 years. I just, as I mentioned, this is my 19th division commander.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So, so General Richardson, I've known them all.
Yeah.
And so, and also I know all the corps commanders.
That's right.
I got a little clout, a little street.
Just a little street.
So it's so it's been an interesting time to be here through that whole time period.
Absolutely.
And see how Fort Hood has evolved. It's and evolved, I think, for the better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
2023 cannot come soon enough.
That's right.
Well, again, we're going to do a soft opening in 22.
Right. So I guess we should be looking more towards 22. We're very excited for that.
So we've got some stuff that we're working on right now to that. And we're going to have some vehicles that are going to be inside.
Oh, there you go.
Inside the museum itself. So we're getting those restored thanks to our folks over at the LRC and DPW and the Garrison. Thank you. And so they're getting these vehicles and helicopters ready, so they're going to be inside the museum. So we'll start moving some of those once they get done. We'll start moving those into the galleries so that we can we get them pre-positioned.
Well, that's awesome. Well, again, thanks so much for being on with us, and we are looking forward to the soft opening.
Thank you.
Let your voice be heard at BOSS.
What's BOSS?
BOSS stands for Better Opportunities for Single Soldiers and serves the single service member community, active, guard, and reserve, as well as single parents, geographical bachelors, all U.S. military service branches, and foreign service members assigned to the installation. The BOSS program is based on quality of life, community service, and recreation and leisure. As a member of BOSS, have a voice in how you live, how you spend your leisure time, and how you support the community around you. BOSS membership and the program's available leadership and project management roles also will enhance your promotion package. For more information about how you can become a BOSS member, visit our website at hood.armymwr.com.
Let me address the elephant in the room. Brianna is currently on vacation.
Yes, she is. Hello, Brianna from afar.
Hey, girl. How you doing? We miss you.
But thank you for stepping in for her. And I'm from what I've been told, you are going to be more of a regular now. Are you excited about that?
I would love to be a regular, yes. Only been trying for how long now?
Well, congratulations. You've officially made it.
Thank you.
I'll put you on the website and everything.
You are now in the promised land.
That's right. Brianna is currently on vacation. Anybody else have any fun vacation plans?
I just got back from Arizona.
Oh,
really?
That's right. Nice.
That's pretty cool. How was that?
It was amazing. I got to meet my son got to meet my fiance's family.
Right.
So,
I think you said that last time you were here. That's very exciting. Yeah, super fun.
There's nothing really
Nothing
going on with
That's
me.
fair.
Just being a history nerd.
Yeah, the
constantly.
Usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
reading,
episode really
watching
spoke
videos.
to you.
I was so captivated. I literally didn't break eye contact. I'm just staring at him, and I'm sure he's just
That's
like,
kinda creepy.
what is wrong with this guy? But I'm just,
Yikes.
I just love history so much, and I just loved it. I just kind of want to live at the museum until they call the MPs.
Yeah,
and then
we've got a squatter here.
Yeah, just like,
Gotta go.
get him out of here.
Yikes. Well, that's fun. I have some vacation plans. I'm going home to Kansas City.
Ooh.
Going to San Diego.
Oh, wow.
I think that's it.
For now.
For now. You never know. We'll see. See where the wind takes me.
Wherever it blows me is where I will go.
That's right. Oh, I'm also going to San Antonio with my mom.
Ooh, okay. Nice. Tell Mom I say hi.
I will. Hi, Mom. I make her listen to this, so. Magical. Well, I think this was a great episode. I know I learned a lot, and I am really looking forward to the soft opening and then the full opening of the new museum.
Yes, I'm so excited.
100%. Summer 2022, the soft opening. Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, now for the full opening.
Coming to Fort Hood 2023, the greatest museum of all time.
Wow, magical. I think we'll have to end it there. So thanks so much, everybody, for listening in, and we will talk to you next week.
Adios.
Bye.
This podcast is a U.S. Army Garrison Fort Hood and Fort Hood Public Affairs production. The show's theme music is written and produced by Delicious All-Stars. All our music is obtained through Filter by Songtrader. Have a question or want to share some insights with us? Email us at forthoodpao@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at USAG Fort Hood. And as always, be sure to leave a review and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.